Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today I'm stoked to welcome Incendiary guitarist Rob Nobile to the podcast. Incendiary will release Change the Way You Feel About Pain this Friday, May 26th on Closed Casket Activities. Rob talks about the Long Island and New York City hardcore scenes, what made him choose guitar over drums, what Incendiary likes most as a band, having something to say lyrically, and a lot more. I've been an Incendiary fan for a while, and this new record is just the next evolution sonically, and I was so stoked to be able to have Rob on the pod. So I hope everyone enjoys today's chat with Rob Nobile from Incendiary.
Take it away! Every plan I put in motion, every sacrifice I made, it stays the same. Now the sun is shining, but I'm soaked in rain. Creeping up and feeling it, like the gun it never ends. Talk about commitment, trying to make amends. It never stops or goes away. I rip the weeds from my garden every day.
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too. It was always fun listening to a band, like new music from a band that you've listened to for a while, and then like re-listening to the discography and like seeing how it all tracks and like progression, but like the through line, like listening to the new record and then like going back and listening to Crusade again, and you're like,
right,
yeah, it's all still there. Like it's
that's cool.
The production's a little better, a lot better, but
for sure.
You're like, yeah,
that's awesome, man. No, that's cool to hear. You know, especially if you've listened to us before and everything and know it. So, but thank you, man.
Yeah,
we're psyched about it. This is cool.
Yeah, it's rad. Let's just dive in. Are you currently up in Long Island?
I'm actually in Manhattan right now.
Manhattan.
That's where I've been living for the past couple of years.
Nice.
I'm from Long Island.
Yeah.
And then moved to Brooklyn at a certain point. Then made my way here. So I'm just getting further and further west. And I lived in a couple places in between. But
nice.
But yeah, so that's where I've been.
Nice. What was growing up in Long Island like?
Long Island was good. You know, it was grew up in, your typical suburb of Long Island, so just grew up playing sports and other than that, there really wasn't much going on. So that's probably why I ended up playing instruments and getting into music and everything later on. But my upbringing was pretty normal, and it's cool to have like the exposure to the whole, scene eventually, when you grow up and everything. So, you love and hate Long Island.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your sport of choice?
I played soccer, baseball, hockey was like my favorite sport, but I used to get my ass kicked playing that. But, Mighty Ducks,
New
York Rangers, it was all that it got me like playing, when I was younger, and I did love it. But, all that stuff kind of ended when I was getting into high school. Yeah. And then getting into guitar, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You're a Rangers fan and not an Islanders fan?
Yeah, I was always a Rangers fan. Messier and Leach and Graves. Yeah. That was what I was I loved them. But then pretty much after that era, I kind of fell off of it, unfortunately. And then I moved like out of state, so it was hard to watch games, but it's pretty sad. I cannot tell you a single hockey player that even exists these days. Pretty bad, but whatever. I got my time in while it lasted.
Right. Yeah. What got you into music?
I guess I can thank my parents for that. So I mean, from very early on, music was always around the house. Playing in the car. My dad played drums. He grew up playing in like cover band and wedding bands and stuff. So there was always a drum set up in our basement, and I would watch him play the drums. He would play along to, everything from, Lionel Richie to Whitney Houston, and then to Jimi Hendrix, CCR. So, and everything in between. So, so it was cool for that. And then I guess I could thank them for, giving me like a wide variety of, musical taste. I have a pretty broad spectrum, just on everything that was always playing. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. What led you to guitar? If your dad was a drummer?
So, well, I remember early on, of all things, Wayne's World.
Okay.
Right. So I was like, Wayne's World came out in like 92. And I saw it maybe a year or two after, like on video. So I was in like third or fourth grade.
Okay.
And I played drums in band. Right. So I started playing drums, signed up for it, thinking I'm going to be like Keith Moon, playing a drum set and just wailing.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'm doing paradiddles on a drum pad. So I'm like, all right, this is cool, I guess, but this is not what I like really signed up for. And then around that same time, I saw Wayne's World, and I remember like not even like it was superficially funny, and it's like these crazy guys, but I just remember being like, whatever this world is that they're in, I like want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? And it was like kind of that got me into just like rock music, like more into that, and then guitar kind of came along with that. So that was like one of the defining things. And then I had a neighbor, his older brother had a guitar, so I saw him play it for the first time. He had like a Strat, and he played "Come As You Are," like that that riff. And I just remember being like, I can't believe I'm like experiencing this. This sounds just like the CD. Yeah, this guitar looks like it. I mean, this is it. Like in real life, like this is what I see on MTV, and like so it was like kind of all those things all happening at the same time. Where I'm like, I guess like this is what I have to learn and figure out, right? So I remember
picking up guitar and then like playing some song off some Green Day song and being like, I could do it. Like,
no, it was cool because even like with drums. So I played concert band drums, but I would play my dad's drum set, and I could do like the most bare minimum basic thing, and it was cool. But still, like you only hear drums. Yeah. Where playing guitar, you're playing that riff. Yeah. And that melody, and you're like, like, oh my god, like this is happening. Like I'm doing it just like Kurt Cobain or Billy Joe. So it's cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What led you to hardcore then?
So hardcore kind of like came about, like, it just happened to be one of like the many genres of music, that I ended up, coming to love. I was always into heavy music, and actually I remember I was taking guitar lessons for a short while at this music shop in my town, and I would stand outside and wait for my mom to pick me up, and there was like this traffic light pole that was covered in stickers. Yeah. And there was a sticker from a band called VOD, Vision of Disorder. Oh, yeah. And they were huge at that time, especially on Long Island. I remember always hearing the name, and I would see the sticker. The name was so cool. The sticker looked so cool. And that kind of just led me to just like, all right, I'm going to buy this CD and just see what it's about. I had no idea. I didn't know anything about it, what it was going to sound like. And I was just blown away. Yeah. The second I heard it. So like that was that kind of just introduced me to the whole world of it. And, from there, from reading the insert of the CD, the thank yous and all that. Yeah. You see who the other bands are that they shout out. And
then you go buy those albums.
Yeah, exactly. So it was that. And, coupled with just some other things that kind of like surfaced around the same time. There's a New York hardcore documentary. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Like that came out in like 95 or 96. That actually featured VOD, but it was like this DIY documentary, like home video camera footage, but it was all, it was just showcasing all those bands in that whole world, especially in like Manhattan and Brooklyn. So Madball, AF, Crown of Thorns, that whole world. So that was like another, portion that kind of got me introduced to it. Nice. And then from there, you discover shows and things happening locally. So always stuff going on, especially on Long Island. So it was easy to get into once I was aware of it. So.
Yeah. Because you're so relatively adjacent to like the city. Was there a good scene in Long Island happening?
Yeah. So that, I think that like there were always spots just popping up, venues that existed for, a certain amount of time that would close and another one would pop up. So, I remember just showing up to shows, not even knowing bands a lot of the time, but just hearing about a show, again, like flyers actually like helped. There obviously wasn't like, or the internet wasn't as big, especially like, in like the late 90s. So, I remember just going to shows and just going just to be a part of it too. You know,
Yeah.
seeing the band was obviously the main part of being there, but just being around people like that was really cool. You know, I was like the only one in my circle of friends at the time that was really into music. I went to a private school, so there weren't many kids in my grade to begin with.
Yeah.
This is just before high school. So yeah, it was hard to like kind of just discover that portion of the music world.
Yeah.
Versus what was on MTV or the radio and all that other stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember, there was a VFW hall and they had shows 2 or 3 times a week. And you could just go for $5 and you'd go see 10 bands and it didn't matter who was playing. You'd just go.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you have like the matinees and you know, like early shows. And then, oh, maybe I'll stick around and there'll be, you know, another show that pops up. So, yeah. So it was very fun.
Yeah. At what point in there did you try starting to play in bands and join bands?
So I played in bands, you know, no name crappy bands since like middle school, you know, and then through high school, not even hardcore or punk per se, just like, I guess, rock music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, before getting into like hardcore and not knowing what that world was like, you didn't even like, I didn't know like how it even worked, you know, like, oh, you could start a band, but I didn't know how to get shows or where shows even existed. Right. I remember, you know, playing at some like restaurant after hours that like our drummer at the time, like his uncle, like owned it, and like nobody even like was there, but we just did it because we didn't know like what else was existing. That was in like 8th grade. Yeah, and then again, you know, obviously getting into the scene, you started getting exposed to, you know, those shows and real shows happening, and then and then I was like traveling and living out of state around that time. So Incendiary was really the first time I was actually finally playing in a band, like in that world, which was just towards the end of college or just at the end of it. So
what'd you go to college for?
I ultimately got my degree in business management. Okay. AKA, I don't know what the hell I wanted to do in my life. And then, but in between, like I took music classes. Yeah. I went to Berklee College of Music for 2 semesters, like just in the middle. But and then I took some time off in between. I was all over the place in college, but I did graduate ultimately.
There you go.
It was in business management. So yeah.
You have that there.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it helped in some degree.
How did Incendiary get started?
So our singer Brendan, he started the band. This started early 2007, and the other people in the band were friends of ours. And then that lineup was short-lived. All those guys ended up moving. So by the fall of 2007, I had joined along with everybody else that are in the band. So everybody aside from bassist, we've all been pretty much in the band the whole time. Yeah. But Brendan started it.
Was the name in place when you joined?
Yeah, the name was in place when we joined. He got it from a band called Backup Plan. Okay. They were a big band on Long Island at the time, who we later became great friends with. But I think the name of their demo was called Incendiary. Okay. And Brendan was a big fan of them, so that's where I believe he got the name from.
Nice. What was influencing you guys early on, like sonically?
So so we actually we were all friends and just knew each other from shows and everything. Even before we were all in the band together, and we all had the same taste. So we were all listening to VOD. Yeah, is probably like they were the kings to us. Probably still are. Indecision, Strife, Snapcase, 108. Yeah. Everything in that world is what we all loved that, amongst everything else. But I know, we were all looking to kind of like be in a band like that anyway. Yeah. So it worked out that it all fell in place with us being an Incendiary, right up when it was born.
Yeah. Crusade's such an interesting like debut record because like it feels like a debut, and like knowing it came out in 2009, but it sounds like a record that could have been released in like 97 amongst like those bands and those records. And I love that.
Yeah. That's cool though. That's cool. I think it's like a compliment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because I think that was literally us just trying to just literally make music.
Yeah.
Not knowing what the hell we're really doing as a band,
Yeah.
Obviously nothing's established at that point anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're just trying to just write these songs, and whatever we were listening to at the time, or whatever was influencing us individually, that's kind of what came out, and that's how it's always been.
Yeah.
I gotta say, with every recording and release that we've done, we never really like planned like the sound or anything, but I think just by nature of it, Crusade obviously was just kind of like really like the
Right.
hitting the lab and being like, all right, what the hell is like actually happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a heavy band. That's all. That's
We're-
the starting point. Like,
Yeah, we're a heavy band. I guess we're a hardcore band. We all love these other bands that we've all talked about, and we would cover Strife
right.
with that early on. So yeah, it was definitely kind of a product of all that
Nice.
at that stage of the game.
Yeah. What led you guys to Closed Casket?
So Closed Casket. So we had, it was a period of time actually after Crusade. For a period of time, we released a bunch of splits.
Yeah.
And I think the last split out of that era was with Zabalba. Yeah. And then Justin approached us to put that out. And, it kind of just fell in place. Nobody else was really knocking on our door to do anything. And, we never planned on doing anything. Like whatever release we ended up doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just came about and the opportunity arose. There was never like, we have to do this with this person. But, ultimately, we ended up putting that out with Justin, and it was just a great relationship off the bat.
Yeah.
And from there, he ended up putting out all of our records after.
Yeah.
And it really just stemmed from that one release. That's what I think it was in 2012.
Yeah.
Just because we were all happy on both ends, became friends. It just made sense to keep going with it. And that,
Yeah, they're a dope label. They're one of those labels where everything they put out, I'm like, all right, I got to check it out because it probably
rips. No, it's really cool. And then even at the time when we did the Zabalba split, Closed Casket wasn't as popular or big. So I think we all kind of like grew at the same time, which is really cool to see in retrospect. And Justin's killing it over there with Closed Casket and all the releases he's doing. Like it's going to be good if he's releasing it, you know what I mean?
As a band, you guys have like taken your time with your full lengths. Like there's like 4-year gaps in between. You're not like a record every year, every 2 years, and tour your asses off for 6 months. Like what has gone into that? Is that like a conscious decision or just going with the flow? Yeah.
So it's funny. So like the one thing I hear more and more as time goes on, especially as like we all get older, our friends in bands get older. Like I know everyone's just like, man, I wish like we had like your schedule or like your process. But the thing is like honestly, like no joke, we have never, like I said, planned on anything. None of this was on purpose. Like I swear to God. So the band was started already after we all kind of were played in separate bands, did music, maybe toured, and like we all got out of our system. And then we all have careers. So we all have like full-time jobs. And even from the beginning of Incendiary, we were like, we're going to start this band, play a couple local shows. All of our other friends were playing shows. Like, it'll be fun. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it just grew into, playing weekends or traveling out of state. And then now flying across the country. And then, this and that. So with releases, it was the same thing. We were like, oh, I guess we should put out this demo or EP because we need something to play shows. And then from there, we would just get all these other, opportunities from people. So, and to answer your question, even after Crusade, we would spend a couple of years just playing here and there. And then it was again, well, we're still doing this, so we need another record. Everything revolves around playing. I mean, I think collectively we're all on the same page. Like, playing shows is all of our favorite part of the whole thing. Writing and recording is also awesome, but like, we love playing shows,
right? And
we don't get to do it as much as other bands, or we don't do it full time, which kind of makes us love it even more. But if we're going to keep doing this, we need more music. Other people want more music, and we don't want to be playing the same songs over and over.
Right.
I mean, it's cool that even this is coming out now in 2023. It's 6 years since our last record, which is even crazier. But again, it wasn't even planned. I think after a few years from Thousand Mile Stare, we knew we were going to release something. We didn't know what. We were even talking about an EP, just like a couple songs, and then it was COVID that actually kind of triggered a lot of this, where we all had more time to spare. Obviously, nobody was playing shows, and we weren't busy with that, so we just started writing, and then we got to like 3 songs. Should we do an EP? Well, I don't know, nothing's going on, so let's just write more. All right, now we have these amount of songs. Let's just put out a full length, and so it all just kind of fell in place like that.
What was it like, especially those early days of COVID, where New York was such a hotbed and like shit was really crazy up there?
It was really interesting. Like, I was living in Brooklyn, and then when 2020 hit, I ended up moving here to Manhattan, and it was like an absolute ghost town. It looked like a zombie movie. Like, there was not a single person on the street.
Man, really
crazy. I mean, aside from obviously all of the bad, effects that COVID had. Personally, I mean, it was actually kind of like nice. It was like relaxing. It wasn't as chaotic as it normally is around here. But that was it was just interesting because it would be very quiet, almost like a ghost town. But then you had all the other socio-political stuff going on. Then you had riots and protests going on down the block, where everywhere else it might be, quiet and everything. So it was like, it was weird. And it was a weird juxtaposition in different areas of where you were in the city and Brooklyn. But nonetheless, I was pretty much inside the whole time, like most other people, and just doing my thing.
Were you guys just sharing tracks online? Like,
no, actually, we actually did go to our practice space. So we have a rehearsal space in Brooklyn, and because it was just so basically all of our writing was always done by myself, Brian, our other guitarist, and our drummer, Dan. So it was always the 3 of us, music-wise. So just because it was the 3 of us, we still would just go and meet every now and again. And the way that we practice and write a lot of the times is, we're not sitting there spending hours and hours in a room like jamming. Let's see what magic happens. We've never really done that, and we also don't have a lot of time to do it. So I'll write riffs or parts, and you have it prepared. Brian will do the same thing, and you have an idea, and then hash it out. So our time was very optimal as far as our time and process was optimal, especially during COVID, when we weren't meeting as much, but we were making it happen. When we did.
Just a little taste of freedom, living in a central place where we're stuck in the coast for blood, and capturing captives in the desert sun, traversing the open sea to feel the sense of opportunity. All quiet on the Western Front, while they cry for help.
Record is called Change the Way You Think About Pain, May 26th. Where'd the title come from?
Well, we really wanted people to earn it when they said it, so that's why we made it so many words. No, I'm just kidding. Well, so Brendan came up with a name. You know, Brendan comes up with all of the lyrics, writes all the lyrics, all the song titles. So I know, you know, it's just a reflection on, I guess, the things he was kind of writing about. You know, there's a lot of, you know, everything going on, you know, around 2020 and the years after that. Again, socially, politically. With a lot of that change going on and different perspectives on, you know, all of like the noise on the internet and, you know, and what people are talking about, with everything from politics, and everything socially. And then, you know, I know Brendan was having, like, you know, going through personal things too. So I think that was kind of just an all encompassing thing, an overall theme that kind of, I guess, helps, you know, reflect what a lot of his writing was about lyrically for this. Gotcha.
Who did the album artwork?
So the album artwork was done by a guy named Daniel Danger, and he's like a pretty renowned artist. We were fans of him, which is, I mean, so it's very cool this whole thing came about. We're big fans of him. He does a lot of, you know, design for like tours and I think like, you know, PR type work for music and I think other things, but he's like, I've seen his work through tour posters and things like that for, you know, 9 Inch Nails, Primus, Dave Matthews Band, Lamb of God, like, you know, like crazy bands who, you know, we have no business being in the same sentence as, but it's cool. So we always knew about him, and we just thought it'd be cool to kind of have him be a part of it, you know, if he was down with it. Will Putney, who we recorded this record with, he also had a lot of his album art or poster art just hanging around the studio. So that was also just kind of like around when we were recording. And then, you know, one thing led to another, and we got into conversation with him, and he was down, and it was cool. Like, he ended up knowing who we were and was a fan of ours. We also share mutual friends too, through a weird degree of separation. So it was cool how the whole thing came together. And and he was really into just, you know, creating and drawing up what he did, which is amazing, you know, based on him already like kind of knowing our band.
Nice.
So it was really cool. Yeah.
Nice. Did you guys give him a direction, or was it just like, this is the title, just go for it?
No, you know what? I don't think we really did. Just because we were such fans and trusted his style and what he did. We didn't, and I don't think we knew what to expect. And then when he gave us that, you know, like when we saw like the first draft of it, it was already like, man, this is already unbelievable. It's bigger than anything we would ever expect or imagine. So so it's really nice how it all kind of fell in place.
Yeah. I think it's definitely the coolest album artwork you guys have had so far. Yeah. Going back to Crusade, I love that art too. And like, yeah, I think there's this resurgence of like really kick-ass album artwork again, and it's awesome to see. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's cool. We've gotten to work with a lot of artists along the way who we like respected and wanted to work with, and I think every record has its own, you know, flavor or like snapshot of what was going on. Cost of living was like a huge thing. John Contino, he's a huge you know, artist, and we knew him from back in the day. Like, again, like he should have no business doing anything for us. Yeah, but he was actually in the hardcore scene on Long Island, and we knew him. But you know, he's this renowned artist. Yeah, he's done amazing stuff.
Yeah. And he even created like the coffin, the product, the New York coffin, which that was just like a happy accident. Yeah. Oh, it'll be this cool thing that'll go on the, you know, on the bottom of like the album artwork. We'll put it on a shirt, and maybe it'll be cool. And that thing blew up. So it's so crazy. You can't make this stuff up. Like how some of the stuff came about, and you know, it's just I feel lucky to just have all that stuff happen. Yeah. And again, work with all these cool people.
Yeah. It's something maybe not unique to hardcore, but you see it a lot where like people are a fan of the scene and want to help each other out and just like see it like grow and keep going. And it's like everybody's just cool as fuck to each other.
Yeah, it is cool. And it's like, it's cool getting older and then seeing everything in retrospect. Because when you're in like this scene in this little world, when you're teenagers or kids, you know, everybody's like doing their similar things. And then as time goes on, people leave, or they're not even in music anymore.
Right.
But it's a certain type of person that's a part of that. So then a lot of people go on to do these incredible things, not even music related, but in maybe it's art or film or TV or whatever it is, or maybe completely unrelated. And then there's always that thing that you could go back to and relate to. And then, later on, it's still just cool and fun to, just be a part of. And then that's how some of these things, have come together, at least for us.
Yeah.
So, definitely a cool thing to be a part of, to have come from.
Yeah. This wasn't your first record with Will, right?
No. So we recorded 1,000 Mile Stare, a previous record with Will. So that was an awesome experience recording that. I've always personally had amazing experiences recording, with whoever we've worked with in the past. And then Will was kind of just like that next level, next step up. And just the actual recording process was very, very just accommodating and smooth. We loved the way that he worked. And obviously the end product was amazing. So when it came time to do this, it kind of made sense to do that. And it's another example where Will, this renowned producer and engineer, we always knew about him, and he just happened to be into our band. And again, we were just lucky to be able to work with him, especially for the last record. And it was man, we can't pass up an opportunity like that. And then and then it led to this next thing. So so we're really happy with it. And he did such a great job, and bringing it to the direction that we were trying to steer it sonically. I'm really psyched about it. Just finally just being out and having people hear it. So
yeah. Is there something about hardcore, like the hardcore you guys grew up listening to, that New York scene, or bands like Strife, that lead you to be more political and socially conscious in your lyrics? Maybe that's not a question for you.
No, You know what? I think I think it definitely does. A lot of bands, I guess, that we grew up listening to did have, certain messages behind them. Again, Brendan could obviously, speak about this better, but I know that's something that, he was always, a huge fan of. A lot of his influences came from the lyrical content and, just the messages behind that. I was always a fan of that, but just being, a guitarist, I would always listen to the music a lot, or being drawn to that. And then, by exception, I would be heavy into lyrics of certain bands. But, obviously from a vocalist perspective, it's a whole different thing. So I know, at least with Brendan and, bands that he's always talked about being influenced by and loving, there's definitely a similar theme as far as, even if it's not the exact message, but just you're having something to say, you have something to say, So,
has there ever been a disagreement over something he's written or wanted to write?
You know what? Actually, no. And I think because of the fact, we were all friends anyway, right? So you kind of share the same morals and values and perspectives on life and things like that anyway, right? There's a reason why you hang out with people,
right?
Why you hang out with certain people and not others. And then just because we're in we happen to be in the same band together, and so as far as kind of lyrically and the lyrical content and the underlying message behind all that, I've always been a fan of Brendan's lyrics, and he the way that he writes lyrics and presents them, I think in a tasteful way. I'm psyched to have him, as our singer. You know what I mean? So I've never really opposed anything that he's written as far as lyrics go, and none of us else in the band really have ever opposed.
Cool. Album is out the end of the month. You guys have any plans for this year to play some shows, or?
So like I said, we've always operated just playing shows as much as we can, but again, it's not full time. We're not full time touring, so we're definitely trying to like grind and like and get out as much as we can, especially when this record comes out. We've been a little quiet now because we're waiting for the record to come out. But we have a handful of dates. Starting like the end of April. We're going down to Atlanta for House of Disorder Fest. We're playing Adjacent Fest in Atlantic City end of May. Chicago and Detroit beginning of June. We have a record release June 17th. That's in Brooklyn. And then trying to go over to California the end of that month. So yeah, trying to cover as much ground as possible now that the record will finally be out.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.